Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam.
On 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Thursday, January 15th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Mix of sun and clouds. Today, the temps going to fall through the day. So the high is 46, but by this afternoon, it's going to be a whole lot colder than that. And then tonight and overnight, some clouds, low 23. Friday, sunshine, high 35. If you're walking out the door with us right now, it's 37 and cloudy in Sloatsburg up in Rockland County, 35 and cloudy in Alamucci over in New Jersey, and it's 40 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
This is the Top 5 at 5.
Hey, Verizon customers, can you hear me now? A New Jersey mom's accused of murdering her young kids. ICE agents open fire in Minneapolis again. A wild scene in a Manhattan Pokemon shop. And will they ever find a missing cat at JFK? All right, let's get into it at 5:01. Were you one of the millions who did not have phone service for much of yesterday? In fact, Verizon says they did not fix this problem for a lot of customers until late last night. If you were like me, I am a Verizon customer. I had SOS at the top of my phone. I was not able to communicate with anybody, and impacted people in so many different ways. I was at the doctor's office yesterday, routine visit, and they wanted to run some tests, and they were trying to communicate with my insurance company, but they were unable to get in touch with anybody, likely because of this Verizon shutdown. And when you talk to people on the streets, of course, they start to freak out when their phone doesn't work for a whole bunch of different reasons that are good and others that are just dopey.
Well, I was just at work, and then my phone stopped working, emergency calls only.
I was on a Zoom call, and it went out in the middle of the Zoom meeting.
Missed calls, miscommunication with work.
It's not working. I haven't been able to get any text through or anything. Nothing's working.
It created some problems. I was couldn't talk to my hairdresser to let her know I was running late, and I went the wrong way because I didn't have maps working on my phone.
Now, there is one report that this is all tied to a server that they were having issues with in New Jersey, but the impact was felt nationwide. You had that SOS at the top of your phone for most of the day. Now, Down Detector, it's one of these sites that reports these outages, and middle of the day, they had 178,000 Verizon customers were affected, but the numbers were way higher than that, because no matter where I went yesterday, everybody was staring at their phone waiting for it to come back on.
They have no control over it. It's a nationwide outage, and it's going in and out.
I thought maybe by the end of the workday I would be able to, contact someone, but I haven't been able to use my phone at all.
Today's been a horrible day for me, literally. A lot of important calls that I missed.
Yeah, now Verizon's saying they're going to offer some account credits for those who were affected by the outage. We'll have to see what that means. They weren't great at communicating what was going on. At least that was my impression. There was a social media post. A couple of them went out throughout the day. There was one about 4 o'clock yesterday that said a team was on the ground actively working to fix the service issue that's impacting. And then they wrote some customers. But I think we'll find out in the end that the numbers were a whole lot higher. New York emergency management officials say the outage was affecting some users calling 911. That, of course, is a huge deal. And then you had just the regular people on the ground who were trying to communicate with their loved ones. There was an issue at the Devils game last night. So there was Devils game at the Rock in Newark. And, most people show their phones, of course, to show their tickets. So the Devils were trying to figure out a way to warn their fans to download those tickets to their Google or Apple wallet while they were at home and had internet service so they could show those tickets when they got to the gate. I imagine there were some problems last night, but they were warning people about that. So you have that kind of thing, then just paying for things. I mean, all kinds of issues with with us yesterday.
I'm well aware of how much we rely on our phones and the disconnect and anxiety that's caused by being disconnected from the internet.
Maybe to think of like a backup plan for in case this happens again, or maybe like another carrier. I don't know. It's really inconvenient.
Yeah, so the federal government's Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency so far says they don't think this is any kind of sabotage. So they think it was just a problem with a server out in New Jersey. My kid, my 18-year-old last night was heading to Irvington, New Jersey to take his girlfriend out for her birthday. And then he had that moment, wait a minute, I can't use Waze on my phone to get me there. And you talk to kids, I mean, I'm terrible this way too. I so rely on Waze to get me anywhere, but these kids have never looked at a map before. So he's like, I don't know how I'm going to get there. I mean, we were able to figure it out in the end, but that's the kind of stuff people are relying on. And Verizon being trolled by its competitors after experiencing that outage.
Over 1.5 million Verizon customers went without telecommunications service on Wednesday for over 7 hours, prompting responses from rival carriers. During the outage, T-Mobile posted on social media that its network was keeping its customers connected, but that its customers may not be able to reach someone with Verizon service at this time. AT&T was also trolling and posted, quote, if you're experiencing issues, it's not us, it's the other guys. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
All right, 5:05. Out to Minneapolis, Minnesota, where an illegal Venezuelan migrant was shot in the leg by federal immigration agents in Minneapolis last night after he allegedly fled during a traffic stop and then took out a snow shovel to beat the agent who had stopped him. The suspect was behind the wheel when he tried to get away from federal immigration officers. This was about 7 o'clock last night, local time, but he crashed into a parked car. He then tried to escape on foot, and what the Department of Homeland Security says is that he violently assaulted this officer as the two wrestled on the ground. Last night, that's when the shot was fired. It hit this individual in the leg. He's going to be okay. And in Minneapolis, where it's just been chaotic since that shooting last week, they're calling for calm. Here's the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Fry.
And for anyone that is taking the bait tonight, stop. That is not helpful. Go home. We cannot counter Donald Trump's chaos with our own brand of chaos.
Yeah, the mayor there continues to blame the Trump administration for what's going on the streets of Minneapolis.
First, I'll say, show me a single place where I have encouraged anything other than peace. Show me a single place where we have encouraged violence.
Yeah, so they had cops out in the street last night trying to keep the peace, and it seems like so far they've been able to do that. WABC News Time 5:08. A crew from the International Space Station returned to Earth ahead of schedule because of a sick astronaut. The one nice thing about being up in the middle of the night is I got to watch this splashdown last night.
On behalf of SpaceX and NASA, welcome home, Crew 11.
U.S., Japanese, Russian crew from SpaceX Crew 11 mission splashed down safely off the coast of San Diego earlier this morning. It was the first time in the 25-year history of the space station that a mission was cut short due to a medical issue.
Splashdown of Crew 11. After 167 days in space, Dragon and NASA astronauts Zena Cardman and Mike Fink, Kimya Yui of JAXA, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Oleg Platonov are back on Earth.
Now, NASA has not shared details about that sick crew member due to medical privacy, but says the astronaut is in stable condition. 5:09, let's go from outer space, bring it back home over to New Jersey, where a mother under arrest, charged with murder in New Jersey after her two young children were found dead inside their home in Somerset County.
It was Tuesday night when cops responded to a home in Hillsborough after the 5- and 7-year-old's father came home and found his sons unconscious. First responders pronounced the children dead in their bedroom, but the cause of death not immediately clear. Prosecutors have charged the mother, Priyadar Shinshi Natarajan, with 2 counts of first-degree murder and a weapons-related offense. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
Let's go from New Jersey, bring it here into the city. The NYPD has taken the grandson into custody of an elderly woman who was found stabbed to death in her Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn home late Wednesday night. Neighbors who knew Julia Boomer say the police had visited the home before.
But there are signs, arguments, dysfunctional, signs of cruelty that you wash it away and say, oh, that's nothing.
The 85-year-old who had been stabbed several times was found by her daughter. She was rushed to the hospital where she was pronounced dead.
That you need to reach out to somebody, especially older people, because they got so many centers. They got so much help for you to go through this. And it might be a mental stage on the other end that we don't know about.
Yeah, she's talking about the fact that maybe this woman had been domestically abused before. I mean, we don't have any clear sign of that, but police had visited this home in Bed-Stuy before, and now what we're being told is that her grandson is in custody. 511. It appears Eric Adams is bringing the same swagger to private life that he had during his chaotic tenure as mayor of New York City.
Adams making news twice this week, neither flattering. On Monday, a cryptocurrency coin he backed, claiming it would fight anti-Semitism, debuted, quickly peaked, then crashed to pennies. Investors call it a rug pull scam. The company says it was to, quote, rebalance the coin's liquidity. Also Monday, video online of Adams exchanging expletives with a woman as they got off a plane in Dallas. The person taping says Adams threatened to punch the woman in her face because she had booed Adams. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
And we'll hear some of that video. Someone caught that video on tape of that airport incident. We'll hear that after 5:30. 5:11. The foreign ministers of Greenland and Denmark say their meeting with top White House officials was frank. Denmark's foreign minister spoke following the meeting with Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio after President Trump has insisted the U.S. needs Greenland for national security.
I must say that, of course, we share, to some extent, his concerns. There is definitely a new security situation in the Arctic and the high north.
Now, Greenland's prime minister has said that if they had to choose between the U.S. and Denmark in terms of who's in charge, they would choose Denmark. That's what he said going into this meeting yesterday.
We agreed that it makes sense to try to sit down on a high level to explore whether there is possibilities to accommodate the concerns of the president while we at the same time respect the red lines of the Kingdom of Denmark.
This weekend, a bipartisan delegation of lawmakers will head to Denmark to meet with leaders there. The Denmark foreign minister says common ground needs to be found with the U.S. 5:13, President Trump says the killing in Iran is starting to slow down. The president said he heard on good authority that Iran won't hold executions, which they had threatened to do against these protesters, presumably because of the threats the U.S. has been making.
I'm sure if it happens, we'll all be very upset.
Now, the president would not elaborate on the information that he gave or where it came from. He had warned Iran that the U.S. is looking at options, possibly using the military for intervening in the crackdown of those anti-government protesters.
We were told that the killing in Iran is stopping, and it's stopped, and it's stopping. And there's no plan for executions or executions.
Human rights activists say over 2,500 people have been killed, though we've heard numbers a lot higher, by Iranian authorities in the crackdown against those massive protests. Some U.S. personnel who are under evacuation orders from key Middle East bases because of what's going on in Iran.
That's according to multiple reports citing U.S. officials. Trump has warned Iran the U.S. is looking at options for intervening in the crackdown of anti-government protests and stands ready to help. And earlier Reuters reports that Iran has warned neighboring countries it will strike American bases if the U.S. attacked Iran. Human rights activists say over 2,500 people have been killed by Iranian authorities in the crackdown against the massive protests that are sweeping the country. I'm Mark Mayfield.
And we're going to hear from some Iranian New Yorkers who are, of course, really concerned about loved ones back home. We'll do so after 5:30. Contempt of Congress charges against the Clintons will be voted on next week. That's according to Republican Congressman James Comer, who heads the GOP-led House committee looking into the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Former President Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton did not show for their scheduled depositions this week, accusing Republicans of selective prosecution. That's why they say they didn't show.
We're going to vote on it in committee Wednesday, so we're giving plenty of notice. We're having a markup, a regularly scheduled markup. We will mark up criminal contempt of Congress charges for both Clintons for defying a legal subpoena.
Now, Bill Clinton's been featured in several Epstein photos, but has maintained he did nothing wrong during his associations with the deceased sex trafficker. The Clintons and several other officials were subpoenaed in this bipartisan vote that took place last summer. In a moment, we'll give you the latest on the Timothy Busfield story out of Santa Fe, New Mexico. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Good morning, Justin Elliott.
Good morning to you, Noam Layden. Start with the big news out of the NFL yesterday. John Harbaugh and the New York Giants are working to finalize an agreement to make him their next head coach. And barring any setbacks, a deal is expected, sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter last night. The deal is not final and contract numbers still are being negotiated, but barring any setbacks, of course, Harbaugh is ready to accept the Giants' deal, and the team is expected to hire him as soon as possible, could be even as soon as today. Harbaugh interviewed with the Atlanta Falcons on Monday and had tentative plans to meet with the Tennessee Titans today, but New York was the first team to have him in its facility for an interview. He arrived yesterday morning, and stayed into the early evening yesterday before returning to his Baltimore area home on Giants owner Steve Tisch's private jet. That could be an added perk.
Can you imagine what went on during this thing? They must have just, because they know that he was set to meet with all these teams, but they were like, if we just bowl him over with everything possible, the most money we can afford to spend, the biggest, dinner, whatever it is, he got everything.
Yeah.
You know, imagine to be in a position like that has to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, especially if you're the first team getting him in there.
Yeah.
There's nothing like a first impression. So you got to make it. And if you're Tisch and you're Mara and you're Shane, they were calling him, having private meetings at his house. They were really, really putting their best foot forward in trying to recruit John Harbaugh to the Giants. And it seems like they got their guy. And if you're a Giants fan, this was best case scenario. No, he was the best guy available. The guy with the strongest resume. So you go out and you get a experienced, proven head coach, and that will help the Giants sort of expedite this rebuild here. And you get all those guys back next year with a good Harbaugh at the helm, and who knows what could happen. Of course, he does succeed Brian Daboll, who was fired in November.
Oh, my God. Putting those two names together, you can't do that.
No, you can't. You can't. Quite the upgrade, indeed. So, very good for the Giants there. Out in Sacramento, the Knicks lost 112-101 to the Kings. Up next for them, they'll visit Golden State tonight for a 10 p.m. tip-off. In New Orleans, the Nets fell 116-113 to the Pelicans. Up next for Brooklyn, they'll host the Chicago Bulls tomorrow night. At the Garden, the Rangers got doubled up on by the Senators, getting routed 8-4, and good for their fifth consecutive loss. Home fans booed their team off the ice at the first intermission after a lackluster 20 minutes, and it did not get much better until long after the outcome had been determined. The Rangers lost for the 17th time in 22 games at the Garden and are now in last place in the Eastern Conference. Things just seem to be getting worse for the Blue Shirts. Jonathan Quick allowed 6 goals on 17 shots after getting the mercy pull and relieved by who? Spencer Martin, ? A little past the midway point of the second. Up next for the lowly Rangers, they'll visit Philadelphia come Saturday. In Jersey, Nico Hischier scored his second goal of the game on a breakaway at the 3:42 mark of overtime to give the Devils a 3-2 victory over the Seattle Kraken. Up next for the Devils, they'll host Carolina come Saturday. Islanders back in action tonight in Edmonton against the Oilers. That's a 9 p.m. puck drop in that one. What? And I am Justin Ellick with your sports. Get out.
And so we're going to give him more time for that voice to rest, and maybe Monday. But keep your fingers crossed. If you're into praying, pray for him. He's doing fine. He says he's feeling better, just waiting for that voice to recover. So you know how much we love Joel Nolan, and we can't wait to get him back. Well, especially me, since I'm now signed to do traffic. WABC News Time, 5:21. Illinois Democratic Congresswoman Robin Kelly seeking the impeachment of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem over her immigration enforcement tactics. Kelly formally introducing articles of impeachment against Noem yesterday, accusing her of violating the U.S. Constitution and federal law.
I want to tell her right now, Secretary Noem, you have violated your oath of office, and there will be consequences. I am watching you. Members of Congress are watching you. The American people, most importantly, are watching you.
Of course, be hard to pass that with the Republicans both in charge in the House and in the Senate. Meanwhile, newly released video out of San Antonio, Texas, shows the driver of a car ramming ICE agents who were trying to take him into custody.
Go in the window. Watch out behind you! Watch out! Cut it off! Cut it off!
Yeah, really frightening seeing the driver eventually got out of the car, was tackled. Acting ICE Director Tide Lyons says one of the agents went to the hospital with neck injuries.
Turn off the car! Cut off! Come out of the car!
And he tells Fox News that unfortunately attacks like this are beginning to happen almost every single day. Meanwhile, New York City and state lawmakers reacting to President Trump announcing that he will not fund sanctuary cities come February 1st. New Yorkers not mincing words as the president threatens to withdraw and withhold funds to anyone who supports sanctuary cities. So here were New Yorkers on the streets talking about this threat yesterday.
He's trying to punish them.
Terrible. I think it's like a fascist government. That's what I think. Power. He just wants power.
That's bad because everybody's not, bad people. You know what I'm saying? You got a lot of hardworking people as migrants and stuff like that, and I have nothing against them.
Governor Hochul has said she'd support allowing New Yorkers to sue federal agents if their rights are violated, but stopped short of calling on local officials not to work with ICE.
If it's under the guise of not cooperating with federal agents, then, that's understandable. I still don't feel good about it, but I don't think that that's fair to the people who are seeking asylum here.
I don't think he cares about immigrants, really. He probably uses them in his own businesses. I think it's about pleasing his people.
Now, coming up after 5:30, we'll hear from Governor Hochul or Mayor Mamdani about this threat and what they're doing to hold it off. 5:23. Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall believes the Supreme Court will, in the end, protect women's sports.
Marshall has co-led multi-state amicus briefs urging the Supreme Court to uphold Title IX protections and respect state laws banning biological males from participating in female sports. He says it's a matter of fairness and safety.
Also preserves the integrity of our locker rooms, and I do think that the cases that were heard yesterday from West Virginia and Idaho will solidify around the country that states are correct to protect girls' sports in this way, and we hope that others will do the same.
A decision from the High Court expected by early July. I'm Leah Brandon.
Over to Louisiana, where the Attorney General there defending her decision to prosecute a California doctor for sending abortion pills through the mail to a pregnant mom in her state.
This is medically dangerous, unethical, and illegal.
That's Attorney General Liz Murrell, who urged Capitol Hill lawmakers to change the rules for abortion-inducing medication, which were loosened up during the COVID pandemic.
Political preferences do not justify placing women at such medical risk. These are not medical professionals, and this is not health care.
The GOP seeking to go back to mandatory in-person doctor visits before those pills can be prescribed. 5:25, the DEA says it seized a record 6.7 million fentanyl pills in 2025, a 76% jump from the previous year. DEA Rocky Mountain Field Office Special Agent David Oleski says the numbers are really just staggering.
1 of every 10 fentanyl pills seized in the nation was seized here in the state of Colorado.
Yeah, the record 733 pounds of methamphetamine were seized in April, followed by 1.7 million fentanyl pills in November, the largest one-time fentanyl pill seizure in the state history of Colorado.
Earlier this year, we had a couple of our agents. Where did they go? Medellin, Colombia. Part of an extradition or an apprehension. 2 of the individuals responsible for all of the chaos caused here in the city of Aurora last year.
Yeah, 5:25. A former Texas cop still on trial for his response to the Uvalde school shooting. A teacher at Robb Elementary testifying yesterday that she was pleading with Officer Adrian Gonzalez to stop the gunman.
When you told the officer to go in, did he go in?
No.
What did he do?
Yes, he just stayed there.
Melody Flores told the jury that the gunman was firing into classroom windows, but Officer Gonzalez, she says, did not take action. A total of 19 students, 2 teachers were killed in that attack.
I told him that he needed to get stopped before he went into the 4th grade.
And what did he say?
He did nothing.
And when you heard the shots, did you say anything to the officer?
I kept telling him that he needed to be stopped. He was going into the 4th grade.
Gonzalez faces 29 counts of child endangerment. A measles outbreak in South Carolina continues to grow. Correspondent Ann Thompson reports that, according to state health officials, more than 120 new cases have been reported just since last Friday.
The outbreak is mostly spreading in the northwest part of the state. And while some cases can be traced back to travel or close contact exposure, others have no identifiable source back to infection.
And Thompson reports that several other states are on alert as well.
The Philadelphia Public Health Department reporting a possible measles exposure last week at the airport, 30th Street train station, and an Amtrak train. Officials saying it was a preschool-age child who also traveled through Maryland and Washington, D.C.
The contagious disease being reported across the U.S., which last year recorded its highest number of measles cases since 1992.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Thursday, January 15th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Mix of sun and clouds today. Now, the temps are going to fall through the day, so the high's 46, but that's now. And then by the end of the day, we'll be in the high 20s, low 30s. And then tonight and overnight, some clouds, low 23. And then Friday, sunshine, colder than it has been as of late anyway, high 35. If you're walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are, it's 37 and cloudy in Sloatsburg up in Rockland County. It's 36 and cloudy in Alamuchee over in New Jersey. And it's 40 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studio. WABC News Time 540. This horrible story out of New Jersey. A New Jersey mom allegedly killed her two young children. Priya Thursani Nadarajan is from Hillsborough, and she faces 2 first-degree murder charges in the death of her 2 boys, 5 and 7 years old. Police say they responded to a 911 call in Nadarajan's home on Tuesday night. This was about 7 o'clock. Her panicked husband called. He told officers he had just come home from work and found the 2 children unconscious and told the dispatcher his wife did something to him. Responding officers found those 2 children dead in a bedroom inside their Shell Court home. Now, the medical examiner will determine the cause of death, although prosecutors say the mom caused the deaths of her 2 children. She faces possession of a weapon charge. She's being held at the Somerset County Jail. That, as fellow students and parents at the kids' school are just shocked by the crime. Now, a lot of them say they didn't know this mom, but they did know the kids.
I pray for the families of the kids. You know, if she's in jail, that's fine.
Tragedy. I mean, no one should be, going through that. And it's just like, I don't even know. I just hope they find out what happened and why. What was the reason, especially the father.
Yeah, so the 2 boys were students at Sunnymead Elementary, and the parents there dropping off their kids just bowled over by what happened.
It's very awful. Jesus, I can't believe that. I'm scared.
I'm sure we met him at the bus stop. Our daughter goes to the same school. She's 5.
So yesterday, crisis response teams, additional counseling services were on site at the elementary school for any kids who needed them. I imagine we'll hear more from prosecutors on what they think took place here in the coming days. 5:42. Let's bring it back here into the city. There was an ugly confrontation between former Mayor Eric Adams and a fellow airline passenger, and it was caught on camera as they walked off a plane in Dallas, Texas on Monday. Now, the witness who took the video now claims that just before he started recording, that the former mayor threatened to punch this woman in the face because she was booing him in the terminal. So here's what it sounded like. I think you can understand what everybody's saying. If not, I can do a little replay.
Eric Adams, please punch me in the face. I would love if you punch me in the face. Okay, you pick up.
All right?
Yeah,
Those things are over.
Yeah, good. Thank God.
You're
to see your ugly ass face everywhere.
Yeah, so this woman begs the mayor to punch her in the face after he allegedly made that threat, and then he told her to go to F herself. The two then exchanged further expletives as they continued down the jet bridge. Adams later reposted online an article about the incident with the headline referencing something he had said about being from Brooklyn to social media, and he just put the article up and then wrote the word exactly and didn't say a whole lot more about what took place there. 543, President Trump's threats to withhold federal dollars from sanctuary cities like New York would have a huge impact on organizations here in the city who rely on those federal dollars to stay afloat. Here was the president making the threat earlier this week.
Starting February 1st, we're not making any payments to sanctuary cities or states having sanctuary cities.
Now, the state comptroller says New York City's budget for this year relies on $7.4 billion in federal funding. So you can imagine how big that would be if that ran dry. The city allocates a significant portion of that money towards social services, education, and housing. So yesterday, Mayor Mamdani says he exchanged texts with the president, and he said he made his feelings clear to the White House about these threats.
Any cut in funding would have a significant impact on the city's ability to not only fulfill the budget that it has today, but also to fulfill an agenda that would ensure that more New Yorkers can afford to stay in this city.
Now, the governor also pushing back. Here's what she had to say about these threats yesterday.
This is just a threat to intimidate states like New York into bowing into submission, and that is something we'll never do. So I say this. You touch any more money from the state of New York, we'll see you in court.
To see if he follows through on that threat. In a moment, we will go to, who knew there was such thing as a Pokemon shop, like an entire shop connected to Pokemon. But apparently there was this wild incident at this Pokemon store in the meatpacking district last night. We'll get you the latest on that coming up in just a moment. But first, 5:45, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, where we find Justin Ellick.
Thank you, Noam Layden. Start with the big news out of the NFL yesterday. John Harbaugh and the New York Giants are working to finalize an agreement to make him their next head coach. Barring any setbacks, a deal is expected, sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter last night. The deal is not final, and contract numbers still are being negotiated, but Harbaugh is ready, I should say, to accept the Giants deal, and the team is expected to hire him as soon as possible, even as soon as some point today. Harbaugh interviewed with the Atlanta Falcons on Monday and had tentative plans to meet with the Tennessee Titans today, but New York was the first team to have him in its facility for an interview. He arrived yesterday morning and stayed into the early evening before returning to his Baltimore area home on Giants owner Steve Tisch's private jet. One source told ESPN it went, quote, good, with conversations set to continue at some point today to hopefully finalize the deal. Giants have gone just 7-27 over the past two seasons and will benefit from a proven winning coach in Harbaugh. He would succeed, of course, Brian Daboll, who was fired in November.
You know, it's kind of like being a car salesman. You know, you never let a customer outside of your showroom, because if you do, then you've lost the sale.
Right.
So they knew they had the first full-on meeting with John Harbaugh, so they were like, we're going to keep him here until he signs off on the deal.
Oh, yeah.
Not let him go.
No, I mean, they kept him there for, it was all day.
Yeah.
So, you wine and dine the guy, you schmooze, you do what you got to do, man. You throw pride and dignity out the window when you're trying to court a guy like John Harbaugh.
I saw Jackson Dart was in on this meeting. I'm sure they brought other people. Probably Eli Manning was there.
Oh, everybody was kissing his toes. Come on. Here we go. John Harbaugh in Giants blue. Big time move. Out in Sacramento, the Knicks lost 112-101 to the Kings. Up next for them, they'll visit Golden State tonight for a 10 p.m. tip-off in New Orleans. The Nets fell 116-113 to the Pelicans. Up next for the Nets, they'll host the Chicago Bulls tomorrow night. At the Garden, Rangers kept on losing, got doubled up by the Senators, getting routed 8-4 and good for their fifth consecutive loss. They got booed off the ice pretty much each intermission. Up next for them, they'll visit Philadelphia come Saturday. In Jersey, Nico Hischier scored his second goal of the game on a breakaway at the 3:42 mark of overtime to give the Devils a 3-2 victory over the Seattle Kraken. Up next for the Devs, they'll host Carolina come Saturday. And the Islanders are back at it tonight up in Edmonton against the Oilers. That's a 9 p.m. puck drop there. That is your Sports Noam, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
An investigation underway following an armed robbery at a Pokemon shop in Manhattan last night. So cops responded to this 911 call for three men who are wearing masks robbing the Poke Court store on West 13th Street. This is in the Meatpacking District. An employee employee says that about $100,000 worth of merchandise was stolen from the store. They say these men who were wearing anime backpacks, can't make this stuff up, kept everybody in the store. The store was full while the robbery occurred. And they were armed with guns and hammers so they could smash through, I guess, the displays cases to grab these very valuable Pokemon cards.
They were all brandishing firearms. They pointed them in the faces of my employees and my customers. And then they, like clockwork, went to our high-end display where we keep all of our most valuable items. They smashed the display. They looted over $100,000 worth of merchandise.
Clearly, they had cased this store before. Just the fact that they had anime backpacks on is pretty funny. The store packed with about 40 customers for its first ever community event when the robbers stormed in. The employee says the robbery all went down in just about 3 minutes. Now, thank God, nobody was hurt. The store just opened in last November. Cops going to go through a video to see if they can catch these guys. 5:50. The protests and government crackdown in Iran have left at least 3,000 people dead. That according to the U.S.-based human rights activist news agency. And Iranian New Yorkers, you can imagine, they're watching this thing extremely closely, concerned for family members back home, but hopeful that something good will come out of this new movement. We've seen these protesters in the streets before, but the Iranian authorities have, in the past, unfortunately, did a good job of tapping them down, but maybe not this time. So here's an Iranian American here in Midtown who owns a restaurant who says his mom's back in Tehran still.
The hospitality, the welcoming, and how nice people in Tehran especially are. Everybody's in danger now. They shut down the cell phones and internet, so it's not, you cannot call from here. Even in Tehran, they cannot communicate with each other.
Now, according to a 2020 census, more than 14,000 New York City residents identify as Iranian. About 30,000 across the state identify as Iranian. Here's more from some members of the New York community who, again, say they're trying to make contact with loved ones. That's been difficult at times because they've blacked out internet service and phone service. Now they're restricting air service to Tehran.
We don't know, are they dead, are they on the streets, or what's going on? So we cannot communicate at all. We all are so upset, devastated. A lot of youth, a lot of young people in Tehran, when I watch them, they have nothing to lose. There is basically no hope for the future. There is no job. Currency lost their value. They live with their parents. Everything is extremely expensive. So they are on the street. What else they gonna lose? There is no hope.
Yeah, so President Trump saying yesterday that there was this threat to hang some of these protesters. Now, he's heard that that's not on the table anymore, but we've been seeing just wild video and really upsetting video out of Iran, at least the stuff that's gotten through, of people walking into places like hospitals, out on the streets with machine guns or some kind of guns and just firing away at those protesters. 5:52. Let's go out to Long Island, where a 79-year-old woman left her home on Oakley Place in Great Neck about 3 p.m. back on December 16th and has not been seen since. The family, Shu's son, says the family is asking for people to look in backyards, sheds, any place that's hidden, especially around Great Neck. Now, the mom has been known to take about 20 walks a day. And typically in the past, they've tracked her with an AirTag because she suffers from Alzheimer's disease. But on the day that she went missing, she didn't wear the normal pair of sneakers that has the AirTag on it. And so they've been unable to find her. And instead of grabbing her phone on that day, she grabbed the TV remote. Now, you can imagine that's not a big story when it comes to somebody with Alzheimer's. But the family, of course, beyond upset, just hoping this thing resolves well, but they know that maybe it won't. Here is Shu's son.
My dad actually saw her, and my dad asked her if she had her cell phone with her. She said she did. But what happened was that at that point, she couldn't really tell the difference between cell phone and a TV remote.
Now, Shu left in a red coat with just a ring on her finger. She's about 5 feet tall, does not speak much English. And again, the family's saying, okay, this may not end well. And they think a good possibility it won't, but they just want to see how it ends.
What we want people to do is look in their backyards, looking for sheds, any place that's hidden. So we are hoping she's in the hospital or in the facility, in the shelter somewhere. But we also understand there's high likely that she might not be alive.
Yeah, so if she is somehow spotted, of course, they ask you to call 911. In New Jersey, lawmakers have just gotten a 67% pay raise. That's not bad. Senate and Assembly members now earning $82,000 a year. That's up from $49,000, their first pay raise in 24 years. And a law passed in 2024 also raises the governor's salary from $210,000 annually. That's up from $175,000, represents a 20% pay bump. The increases were negotiated in 2024 by outgoing Governor Phil Murphy, with the governor's salary hike taking effect next Tuesday when Mikey Sherrill will take the oath of office. 5:55, the New York Blood Center is declaring an emergency. They're asking you to roll up your sleeve. The Blood Center's Sarah Horn says the organization has an under 2-day supply of blood for feeding about 200 hospitals in the tri-state area.
When you come out and you donate blood and you're donating 1 pint of blood, that 1 pint of blood saves up to 3 people's lives. So it is, a way to make you feel really good.
Now, she's asking you to head on over to nycb.org, and that'll tell you where your nearby donor center is so you can donate.
People that are in a accident, trauma victims, people that are going in for surgery, people that have illnesses, cancer patients.
Yeah, those are all the kind of people who do need your blood desperately. And again, they're saying they're now down to a 2-day supply. This always happens about this time of year. The owner of a cat who vanished at JFK Airport after escaping her carrier over the holidays, well, she's not giving up. Ellen Russell is offering a $5,000 reward for anybody who helps bring Tazzy Lee home. She says she was outside Terminal 4, this was back on December 20th, to head back home to Flushing, Queens, after her flight to Florida was canceled, and somehow the cat got away.
She'll crawl up beside me, and I'll put my arm around her, and we'll sleep like that. She has a baby carriage. It's all zippered up, and somehow the zipper came open, and she jumped. There was a police officer from Port Authority that walked through that whole building with me. We went floor by floor.
Yeah, so she posted on social media pictures of the cat, hoping somebody would see it, who was leaving JFK. John Debacker, he's with the Long Island Cat Kitten Solution Organization, which does this kind of thing, helps search for cats. So with permission, he set up a bunch of cameras and put out food near the runways at JFK, and it had a lot of activity, but it was from stray cats. None of them were Tazzy Lee.
It's surrounded by water, so the cat does have a large water source and a lot of rats to eat. So it is possible the cat is surviving on the rats.
Yeah, so Russell again offering $5,000, and she's grateful for any help.
Warehouses, construction sites, talking to people. It's unbelievable, the compassion that people have, Yeah, but I just don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, let's hope they find that cat.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and busts. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.